For those of us just joining, this is going to be the introduction to SONICUE sound system software as a part of our Bosch Communications webinar program. This is the first SONICUE session that we're doing. We're doing another one tomorrow, but Mike Reynolds is here joining us today, and we'll kind of dive right in here as we're getting ready. So some things to keep in mind today. Again, welcome to the Bosch Communication Systems webinars. Just so that everyone knows, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available to you. So if you want to review the content later, or if you want to share it with a colleague, you're more than welcome to do so. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. So there will be a little Q&A session at the end, but feel free to send your questions during the presentation using the chat function, which you can kind of see here in the screen here. So you just click the chat button to show the actual chat session, and then go ahead and write your question in the chat. Feel free to send questions as we kind of go through the presentation, and then at the end, Mike and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. So again, welcome. So joining us today is Mr. Mike Reynolds. Welcome, Mike. He's our Senior Applications Engineer here with Bosch Communication Systems. He's located here in North America. Mike has spent over 30 years within the audio industry. He's been with Bosch for about 6 years. And as I mentioned, he's the Senior Applications Engineer focused on installed sound and touring, primarily for our Electro Voice and Dynacord brands. He provides a variety of technical support, field support, and of course is our go-to guy for system commissioning. So prior to joining Bosch, he worked for multiple production companies and a couple other AV firms for various shows, and has worked as a front of house engineer and system tech. So he's got a great regional and national touring experience. So welcome, Mike. Thanks for joining us. And then of course, you guys have maybe spent a couple other sessions with me already. If you've joined any other sessions, my name's Rob Ferguson. I've been with Bosch for a little over 6 years, very similar to Mike. And I currently serve as the marketing manager for commercial and professional audio systems with Bosch Communications. So prior to joining Bosch, I spent quite a lot of time with music and audio, as many of us do. So all of my degrees and study have been in either music performance or audio engineering. So going forward into today's topic, so today we're focusing on SONICUE sound system software. So we did a session last week focusing more on Dynacord electronics, so more of the hardware components. But today we'll focus primarily on SONICUE, go over some key features, and then Mike's actually going to show us a couple application examples to show you just how easy it is to use the software. So we'll start with an overview, a brief overview. I'll talk about our recent firmware update 2.0 for our LNC series amplifiers and how that relates to SONICUE. And then lastly, Mike will walk us through the SONICUE system with a couple system examples here. So SONICUE is one of our newest software platforms. It's been in the market here for a little while now, so still new to some people, but many have already gravitated towards SONICUE already. And it is a new way of configuring, controlling, and operating sound systems driven by TGX, IPX, or RCM equipped amplifiers. So, and with the newest firmware update for LNC series amplifiers and the SONICUE version 1.1, the LNC series amplifiers are also available within SONICUE. So I'll kind of touch on that a little bit here today. So LNC series, there's a new firmware update available where we have full control in SONICUE sound system software, and this redefines peace of mind with integrated system visibility, direct access on the fly, and error prevention with automated configuration checks. So now with this recent update, there's an enhanced DSP set now available for LNC. So that's 10 bands of PEQ per user, and then 5 bands for array, and then of course enhanced delay settings with user and array delay. So, and on top of that, there is some updated speaker processing with RMS limiters. And of course, with this new update, you can now use the SONICUE speaker database with LNC series amplifiers, or we can use custom speaker settings within IrisNet. So now we're able to have 100+ devices in a system, and we have the ability to read and write project data, save and recall presets per device. Previously with LNC series amplifiers, we were all accustomed to using MARC software, which stands for multi-amplifier remote control. We were only limited to 16 amplifier channels, so most likely only 8 amplifiers. So now we're able to get 100 plus devices. Plus with MARC, you were only able to write to the amplifiers. You weren't able to read, which was kind of a bit of an inconvenience. So MARC is still available. You can still use MARC right out of the box, but if you are interested in using SONICUE, and I encourage you to, you can actually upgrade the firmware within an LNC series amplifier and actually have it work within SONICUE. And of course, you get all the benefits of SONICUE functionality today and in the future. We're continuing to enhance SONICUE and add more features. We're up to SONICUE version 1.1 today, and of course, we'll probably get another one here in not too long from now. But I also have the ability to combine with other devices, so I can combine IPX, TGs, and RCM28s all into one project. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of reasons to kind of upgrade to the new firmware and use it within SONICUE, but primarily it's easier configuration, it's faster configuration, we have more tuning options within SONICUE, we have enhanced supervision options, some increased flexibility. As I mentioned, we can mix devices, so I could use an IPX and a C-Series amplifier within the same software suite, so that obviously makes sense. And then any future improvements down the road to SONICUE will also be implemented. One thing to keep in mind is data transfer is still serial. So it's still, these are still USB amps for LNC series amplifiers. So we're still within the range of USB range extenders. So you still would need a hardware device if we wanted to do anything outside of that. And of course, since these devices can be combined with IPX or TGX, which are IP networkable, we have the ability to do that. And I gave a little quick system snapshot there of combining a USB hub and controlling via Ethernet. So now that we've kind of gone over an overview, let's have a little interaction. So within your chat, one of the things we wanted to learn more about the audience here today is what software platform are you most familiar with? So what are you using today to configure your amplifiers? Are you using Audio Architect, Harmonia, Lake, Biamp, QSys? Maybe you're using IrisNet or another platform. So feel free to type this into the chat, you know, A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, or feel free to go ahead and just mention, type in if you're using something else, type in what you're using. So we do want to learn a little bit more about you. So we'll give you guys a little bit of time here to type something in before we continue on. All right. Well, thank you guys for participating. Feel free to type in your response there, and also feel free to type in any questions you might have at this time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen here, and I'm going to go ahead and have Mike take over here to talk to us a little bit more about SONICUE and walk through a couple system examples with us. So thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Rob. All right, so as Rob kind of gave a small little overview there, we have a sample project loaded up right here. And what we're going to do with it is kind of start the project from here and go through the various tabs. And then after that, we'll actually start with the blank canvas and show you how to bring in new devices and discover them and everything. So with SONICUE, it is a guided workflow. So it's a left to right workflow. And once you complete that task, you go to the next tab, work left to right, and go to the next one. So it consists of 3 tabs: setup, tune, and operate. So essentially, once we're on the setup tab, we work left to right. And once we get to the end, we move on over to the tune tab and kind of a rinse, slather, and repeat thing. So for this project right here, we've already done these few steps right here. So if we just kind of touch base on, let's say, input routing right here. So we have a couple of line arrays, you know, left, right, and the left outfield, right outfield, a few subwoofers, and then some front fills and a few wedges on stage. What we don't see right here, which is how our old IrisNet software would do, was in IrisNet, everything was device-based. So any kind of parameter or anything you wanted to make changes to had to be done at the amplifier itself. So if you need to adjust the level, load a speaker preset, dial in delays or anything, it was in the amplifier itself. With SONICUE, everything we do is from the loudspeaker view, such as what we're seeing right here. I do have the amplifiers in the project. They're right here below it. So this is the amplifiers for this project here. And usually what I tell people is essentially once you've brought the devices into the workspace and you connect the loudspeakers to the amplifier, take the amplifiers and move them out the way. Because you don't need to get to them anymore, essentially, because everything is just done from the speaker. So on the view that we have here, we have a whole view of our setup, and the only place that you can actually move these devices is on the setup tab. So I can't take a speaker and try and move anything. It actually has to be on this tab here where I can start moving stuff. So you can't inadvertently move things when you don't intend to. So since we're working from the speaker view, we don't have to remember, in the instance of, say, input routing, which amplifier channels are connected to which speakers. So I don't have to sit here and think, well, this zone is amp 1, channel 1, this is amp 2, channel 1, and so forth. I can essentially just highlight the entire hang, and then from here, I just tell it which input sources this is. So I can say, well, I want on Dante 2 right now. That's simple and easy. No longer, searching for amp channels and making groups and everything. It's just done in one shot right here. And same thing for this. I can just essentially take this hang and say you're now Dante 3 or so forth. So very quick and easy. And what we're looking at right now is the input routing for the default. So the default right here is the very preferred input source that it wants to go with. Since we are on Dante, there's, in glitch-free mode, there's the primary and the secondary for Dante. So we do have some redundancy already built in. If we would like to have some further redundancy, we could have a failover to, let's say, analog. So if I come into failover here, and I can select the hang and say, all right, you're going to be analog 1. And then this is going to be analog 2. So now in the unfortunate event, if the primary Dante went away, it would switch over to the secondary Dante. And if for some reason that went away, then it would switch over to the analog if that was wired and set up and everything. So multiple stages, lots of redundancy for your system for those mission critical applications and such. Up here, we do have a few things in orange right here, and this is letting us know that there is a discrepancy. So there's 2 times that you'll see orange in SONICUE. One is when the selected devices have a parameter mismatch, whether that's an EQ, a level, an input routing, and such. And the other one is if there's an error in your project, because the entire time you're working with your project, it's checking to make sure you don't have any errors in there. Maybe a loudspeaker wasn't connected, or there's a sampling rate issue, or something like that. So those would appear up here in the check box up here, which we don't have any errors right now, so we'll just keep an eye if something pops up there, and we'll address it when we see it. But right now, that's the reason that the tops are orange, is because right here, these are all, see, this is all of our tops right here. And of course, analog 1 and 2 are different inputs, and it's just letting me know, hey, there's a discrepancy here, which is totally fine, it's left and right. And then once we move over to power, we can look at the full system and say, okay, for these amplifiers, I can take a look at this and see how many amplifiers are driving the system. If we were online with it, we could see what the total current draw is, or the volt amperes draw in there. And then we can also set the virtual breaker size for the amplifier. So if we're in a smaller location and we're plugged directly into a wall, we need a 20 amp circuit, we can put this at 20 and it'll emulate that current draw not to exceed that, so you don't trip a breaker and such. One thing is, anytime we make some kind of a selection, we'll notice that this little window comes out. If I click anywhere else or make another click somewhere, anything, that window automatically goes away. The little window is what we call a flyout. So anytime we select something, the flyout comes out. And at this point here, I can either pin it, and it's going to stay right there. I can click anywhere now, and it just stays there. Or once I simply open the flyout, let's do this here. Once I move it, it'll pin itself. So any kind of parameters that you need to adjust on the fly and need to keep open for small tweaks here and there, you can simply pin it. It stays there until you're ready to get done with it, and you can close it out. If it's something you don't need anymore, Simply just don't worry about it, and it'll close itself out upon the next change somewhere else in the system. All right, so once we have completed our input routing and we've done our power, the last tab on each of the three main tabs to set up, tune, and operate is the status tab. And in here we can see the entire status and health of the system. So this would let us know if we had any kind of issues, if there was an amplifier issue, if we had a load disconnected, so give us an open load. Maybe we had the secondary network and now we don't. It would alert us to that and let us know, hey, you've lost this portion, and so forth. So this is a good page just to kind of check intermittently and see if you may have anything going on, or use it as a starting point for troubleshooting. All right, so once we go to tune as our second step, we have several other parameters here, starting with mute. So in here, I can simply come in, and if I look right here and just mouse over this, the first three boxes light up. And this lets me know that this is a 3-box zone. So all these are tied together. I can move down the array and see the next zone of 3, the next zone of 3, and the next zone of 3. If I go over the transducer, I can get which band passes are tied together. So in this case, these 3 HFs or these 3 LFs. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit here so you can actually see the amplifiers for a second at the bottom. And now when I go over these same boxes again, we can see that these 3 are driven off of amplifier 5 in that second stack right there, channels A and B. And if I move on down the array, we see C and D, and there's the next 2 and the next 2. So at any time, I can look and see which boxes or which transducers are being driven in the system, and vice versa. I come to the amplifier and just mouse over, I can see everything of where things are at. So very quick and easy, and that's where the speaker view comes in so handy. You don't have to remember which amplifiers and which channels are being powered by everything. We can just see it here. Okay. So once we've we can see which zones we have and everything. Now if I can choose, I can pick a zone, take this and we'll pin this fly out. And then I have the master, and then of course each band pass. If this was a 3-way system or a 3-way box, it would have your lows, mids, and highs. Or if I had selected subwoofers as well, I would have the option for sub, low, and high in this application. So it's whatever you select, it's going to show you the appropriate band passes. But I can come in and just mute the LF, mute just the HF, or all of them. And then same thing with the tops. I can pick this, mute the entire hang, and now I can listen to just LF or just HF, or unmute the whole hang again. So very quick and easy. And the good thing with SONICUE is no matter where you're at in your project and which parameter you want to adjust, that option is never more than 2 or 3 clicks away. So whichever tab you need to click on will be your first click. So whether it's setup, tune, or operate, your second would be the parameter here, and the third one would be in the workspace here. So 2 to 3 mouse clicks and you're at whichever parameter you want to adjust, which is totally amazing on that. So next we have here is level. So right now we have an overview. We can see the blue bar here. That gives us the status of where the level is right now. And we are looking at the user portion. So in our DSP, we have 2 different stages, or 2 different places where you can adjust the level. So we can have, typically what I like to use is the user input for, let's say, an overall system balance, whether it's a top sub ratio or a front fill to main ratio or something like that. And then we have the array section here, which if it's not a line array, you can still use it. It's just the terminology we use for this block here. But this is another section that you can do delays and level and so forth. So in a line array case, I could do, let's say, attenuation. So if I pick maybe the bottom 3 boxes right here, I already had array selected, and it pre-selects array for me. If I wanted to do the other one, I simply click here and have that other level control. But we've done our predictions, we have our angles for this particular array, and we know that the bottom zone needs to be down, let's say 4 dB. A couple different ways I can adjust it from here. One is I can do it by the slider right here. I can simply key in the value, or I can use the little quick buttons here. So the double arrows are before the decimal, and then the single arrow is after the decimal. So I just do 4 clicks down, and now we have 4 dB attenuation here. If I go to the other gain stage or level stage, we'll see it's all 0. And if I look at the sum of them all, we'll see still zeros and then the -4 right here. So very quick and easy to implement that particular level change or parameter you want to do. If we want to do an overall gain change now with the arrays, so let's say we go to user, and we had to bring the PA down maybe 2 dB, let's say, just to kind of balance out the sub-top ratio a little bit. So we come down to, excuse me here. Pick the whole hang here. So user, and I go down 2. And now we can see that all the hangs are down 2, and these are down 6, which takes into account the other 4 that we had. So at any time, you can see where your gain stage is at. To kind of overemphasize this blue bar here, I can actually come all the way down, and you'll see where the blue bar is at now. So in a quick glance, you have the numerical value and a small little graph bar down here to see where your levels are at. And once we've done whatever levels we need to do in here, we can go to delay. And then from delay, we have our front fill boxes down here. So we have these two tied together as the inner front fills. So we can see when I highlight over one of them, both of them light up. Or the outside front fills here. These two are tied together. So if I do a little bit of delay, so I can just type this one in. Let's just do something maybe 20 milliseconds. And as soon as I enter that value, I did not have to turn the delay on. So again, another step saved for you, because if you're keying the delay value, you probably want to turn the delay on. So as soon as you enter that value, it automatically turned this on for us. And I can simply turn the inners on. And maybe those are 25 or something. Again, as soon as I enter it, it's here. All right, so, I have now, set a nice delay across the stage where these are summing together nicely, but I still need maybe another millisecond or two to perfectly time align it to the mains. I can very easily select this, all of them. And when I bring it up, I now have, again, that orange mark we mentioned earlier, letting us know that, hey, the device we selected, the parameters are different in there, just letting you be aware, which is totally fine. We got two different things. We got 20 milliseconds here and 25 here. So we take a measurement, we're listening, whatever, and then we want to increase the delay maybe a millisecond or two. So I come here, and as soon as I increase it 2 clicks, we see these are 22, and now these are 27. So this now becomes a relative value where I can adjust it and make it whatever I want to be. If I was to come in here and actually type a number, this is going to make an absolute value. So if I hit 0, that's going to put it right back to where it was, and all 4 now are 0 milliseconds. Okay, so next we've done our delays from whichever aspects we needed to do with our system, and then we move on to the PEQ. All right, so again, let's pick our tops here. The flyout comes up. I'm going to pin this a little bit, and anytime you pin a flyout, depending on which one you pin, you can see a little blue box down here. And this lets us know when we see the blue box that this window can be adjusted. Now this blue box will only appear once it's pinned. So for instance, if I don't pin it, I'm not going to see that blue box down there. But once I pin it, the blue box appears, and now I can resize this window to whatever I may need it to fit in my workspace here. So we'll make it a little bit larger like that to see for the webinar here. And then once we have opened that up, we have the user, which gives us 12 bands of EQ. In the past, we've had 10. So in the 10 that we previously had, we've added a couple more filters to it. And then the last 2 filters have asymmetrical filters. So something we haven't offered before that's been requested that we now offer. I can simply come down here, and here's the filters that are available. And then if I look at these last two, you'll see the same filters, but also asymmetrical ones. So 12 filters we can use here. And if we go to the array portion, or again, doesn't have to be a line array, it's just the terminology we're using for that. We'll click on that, and then we have an additional 5 bands here. So no right or wrong of where you want to do your adjustments at. Some people will do maybe the major house, common stuff, and do it right here, and kind of do the sweetening up on the other bands, or do all the tunings in the master one and tell the guest front of house engineer, hey, use these 5 here, and so forth. So to each his own, but all these are available to you. So if we're looking at this, let's make filter 1 active. And as soon as we do that, we'll see a 1, and it lets us know where this filter is at. I could turn on filter 5 and we'll see where it's at. Again, these are all fully adjustable. I could make this 300 if I wanted to. And it moves on over. And let's say maybe a Q of 5, and let's take it down 2 dB or something. So now we can see the filters engaged here. And if I don't make it active anymore, the 5 is gone and the view of the filter is gone. So we turn that one on, and as soon as we turn the filter on, we notice that the hangs have now gone blue. So we can see our left and rights are now blue. If I disengage that filter, everything has gone off. So when we see blue on a device, that means that the delay has been activated and being used, or an EQ filter has been enabled and used, and so forth. So it kind of lets us know a quick glance that, yes, I've already tuned this section, or there's some kind of parameter that I've changed that's in there automatically for me. And one little feature that's really nice to have now is at the top right, we have a small little arrow. And let's open that up. I have 4 banks of where I can save a couple different EQ settings. So in the past, we've had to kind of have a little workaround per se, and save setting 1 as user preset 1, and then make a little EQ change and save that as preset 2, and then we would just kind of toggle back and forth, and low preset, you sure, yes, and listen and do a quick change, and kind of get an A/B of which filter we like. So now we've made that a little bit much quicker here, kind of a little volatile memory state here, to where we can just simply on the fly save these, and then A, B, C, D, compare them, which ones we may like or don't like. So for instance, this little filter here at 300, if I save that to filter bank 1, or memory bank 1, and let's say I want to hear the PA with and without this little filter. So I can just take it out, save this to number 2, and now really quickly on the fly I can come in and just A/B between these 2 settings and see which one I like. So already integrated in, very quick and easy, and see which one we like. All right, and then moving on to polarity. I'm kind of zooming a little bit so you can kind of see this. But right now each box has a plus on it. So that was everything. So if I simply come in, let's say it's our subs, and I invert them, and now all the subs now have this minus. Change it back to positive, now they're all positive. So very, very quick. I can just take a particular speaker, a particular group, whatnot. Maybe I'm troubleshooting something and I want to just invert this one speaker. So maybe we got a pin flipped or something. Can easily quick and see what's going on there. Okay, and then next we have the signal generator. So we come in signal generator, and let's look at our tops here. So on signal generator, we have a couple different modes, and then of course types of signals that we can bring into the system. So this is something that we've had in our RCM cards before, but this just makes it a really, really quick and easy way of grabbing this and making the adjustments. So for the different modes, we offer pre-solo, pre-mix, post-solo, and post-mix. So essentially, these are whichever signal type you select, you can have this pre the speaker DSP and by itself. The next option is we can have it pre-speaker DSP and mix with the current signal going into the amplifier. And then the last two is have this signal post-speaker DSP and by itself, or post-speaker DSP and mix with your current signal coming in. So if I went to pre-solo, then I can pick pink noise, white noise, or sine generator. And under the sine generator, I can pick whichever frequency I want to do, the level, and turn it on. So again, everything just turned blue, and this let me know that I now have 440 hertz tone being injected into the system pre-solo. Turn it off. And then lastly is the status tab right here. So on the status tab, again, we can have a quick overview of what's going on with our system. So at this point here, we have had our devices onto the system. We've done input routing. We've then gone to the tune tab, and we've made the whichever adjustments and things we've done for the tuning and commissioning of this system or setup and stuff, consisting of mutes, levels, delays, and EQs. We're all happy with everything, and now it's time for show. So we just simply go to the operate tab, and under operate, just three quick little things to be able to look at. So one is mutes, which is already selected. So in this case here, we can see if anything at all in our system is muted. So let's say if I just want to mute front fills, on a quick glance, I can see that, yep, front fills are muted, but nothing else. I'll mute those. And then metering. So in the metering, we have options for input, output, and of course both. And again, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here so we can kind of see this. All right, so depending on which type of speaker you bring in, whether it's a full range speaker, a two-way, a three-way, and so forth, will determine how many of these sections you see. So in this case here, we have a two-way speaker right here. There we go, a little bit bigger. And in each section, we have three parameters that we can look at here. So the first parameter right here is the input VU. This will be shown in green from the bottom going up. And this will let us know that, yes, we do have signal coming into the PA. And then over here is the output, letting us know that signal is coming out of the PA, or at least out of the amplifier. And then this top left portion here would actually be in yellow if we had any information showing up here. And this would be the limiting. So depending on what kind of speaker and parameters that were engaged in that preset would be peak anticipation limiters, the RMS limiters, and so forth. And this would be shown in yellow, and it would move from the top and then just moving down whenever the limiting was occurring. So at a quick glance, we can see all these parameters. If I want to look at just input, I can click input, and now both sides become input only. I don't see the output and so forth. Again, if I go to output, then I can see just output. But input and output gives a quick overview, so I can just look at my entire system in one shot here. I could also, in a really, really quick glance, let's say I pick subs and tops. Here's my group metering. Expand this, make it a little easier to see. And again, it knew what we picked, so it gives us the sub bandwidth, which is highlighted there at the bottom, and then all the LFs, and then all the HFs. So this section up here would be the input level, our output level, and then any kind of gain reduction that may or may not be occurring on the system here. And of course, the graduated numbers here for your reference of where you're at. So once we have, we're looking at that during the show, maybe we want to just take a quick look at the load tab. We can come to load. And if we were online and passing audio with the system, we would see numerical values everywhere where you see this little dash at. So this could be reading 6.3 or 2.5 or whatever it is. These are all 3-box zones. So if everything is hooked up and working, depending on the program material and everything, they should all be reading roughly about the same number. If we saw a difference, let's say maybe this zone here was reading a little bit different than the zones above it, then we would know that, hey, we probably have a bad jumper or a box not connected or something like that. because they should all be reading the same. But that's a really quick way of just kind of troubleshooting and seeing what's going on in the system, or just the health of the system. Maybe something got unplugged, or maybe I lost a transducer, or so forth. So all of these would actually have a numerical value letting us know what the impedance is at that time on that particular amp channel. And then again, the good old status tab, which is the same as all the other ones, to kind of give us an overview of what's going on with the system. So, okay, so that is our sample project that we had pre-done here. So we're going to show you the steps that got us to that stage there. So I'm just going to do a new little quick project here. Alrighty, so say I'm going to pick let's say I pick an amplifier. So let's say I pick a TGX. And I'm going to put that in here. And then I go to pick my speakers. So once I go to speakers, I can see the entire speaker library, what's available at this current time. And this is always constantly changing and being updated and so forth, with new things coming in. So, but starting off, it shows the Dynacord speakers that are in the library, and then moving on down to the EKX ones. So if we wanted to kind of make a replica of what we had in our demo project, we could go to X-Line Advance, and then we have the X1 products, different horn patterns, the double 15 sub, double 18 sub, and then the X2 boxes. So pick a double 18, and then under the sub we have different configurations. So essentially this first portion are all the same as the bottom ones. The only difference is the dual and parallel, and this is kind of a common question I get sometimes. So parallel is where both 18s are wired to pin 1. And then dual is where each 18 is independent. So the left, looking at the front of the box from the grill, the left woofer is wired to pin 1, and then the right woofer is wired to pin 2. So it all depends on how your touring system is set up, or how your install is being set up for your wire management and such. That's what determines if you use dual or parallel. So in this case here, let's say we're on dual, and let's all facing forward. So we'll do this, and let's put in 2 speakers. Okay, so I've got my 2 subs right here. And then let's bring in some tops. And let's use some X2s. And X2 is only a bi-amp box. And here's our different configurations. So we have a few flown, some grounds, lip fill, and stacked on subs. All right. So let's pick, let's say 80 hertz, and let's take 3 boxes. And I have my boxes there. And when I've done this, I noticed that that little orange check engine light with the triangle and exclamation point has come on. So I can see what's going on here. And it's telling me speakers not connected, which is totally fine. I'm aware of that, so I'll go ahead and start connecting those up. So this is all the products I have for my project here. Next tab is label. If you choose to label the speakers, you can come in and label them. And come in and say, what this amplifier is doing, what it's driving. Again, not necessary, but quick and easy way to type. Mode is where we can kind of make any kind of other adjustments. So like for the install amplifiers, we can say this is going to be a low impedance channel, this is going to be a high impedance channel, what the amp gain is going to be per channel. If it's the touring TGX one, then we just have the gain of all the amplifier channels itself. And then when we look at the speakers, we can see what configurations we brought in. So we can kind of have a quick overview and make sure that we brought everything in correctly. So we see dual ground 80 hertz, all perfect. And then we look at X2 120 bi-amp flown, and we find out, we're not going to fly the PA, we're going to stack them. Not a problem. Very quick. I don't have to delete the objects or anything. I can just simply select them. And then I can come in and say, I'm going to stack these on the subs. All right, so now I've changed my configuration. It didn't have to delete them and bring them back in and so forth. And if I want to kind of make a visual representation of what I have in the field, then I can actually take these objects sorry. Design tab is the only place we can move things and do things. So design. And then I can come in and say align. And when I go to align, I have various options where I can turn things on their side, counterclockwise, clockwise, align everything to the top, left, right, bottom, like justifying in the word processor kind of. Switch the order of things, tons of options that were a little harder to use in the past, but SONICUE has made it very, very quick and easy for us. So in this case here, I just want to stack them all together, and there's a quick little selection right here for stacking. And if I just hover over it, it's going to tell me what these are going to do. So I can say, yep, I want to stack vertical. And as soon as I do that, everything is centered, left, right, and up and down. So all axes are justified for us here. All right. So next will be connect and setting. Very, very quick and easy. I can select, let's say, channel A. That's going to drive these two transducers here. And these will go to channel B. And again, you can go from the amp to the speaker, or from the speaker and to the amp, however your workflow you prefer. It easily accommodates it. So let's say I'll say C is going to be my LF. And then we'll go this way to here. So now my entire system has been connected and wired up and good to go. So this is the stage that we were kind of at with our demo project. So now we'll kind of look at, let's say you build your file offline and you want to connect to the amplifiers on site and get ready to go with your project and such. So let's say I'm going to build something offline. Let's say I'm going to use a TGX10. And then we go to speaker. Let's just pick something different, so show you that. So let's pick like 1152. So this is our installation compact entry-level series here. So 15-inch woofer, 9x50 horn. I have options: passive, 100 hertz, play with the sub, or just full range. So we'll say full range. And I'm going to put that up here. And now at this point here, I can just easily duplicate it. And now I've got it left and right. Connect and setting. So I'm going to connect this channel A and channel B. So I've built my file offline, and now I've gotten to the venue, or church or whatnot, and amplifier is already in the rack, and I need to tell the software which amplifier this is. So simply go to online mapping. It's a virtual amp right now. Select this, and then I'm going to click on search. And when I click on search, it's going to show me the amplifier or amplifiers that are currently on this network. So I go to search. Oh, there we go. And now it says the amplifier is offline. So now I can just simply go online. And we're good to go. So in the online mapping tab, I can see the IP address and where things are at with the amplifier. So input routing, it's already set for analog and 1 and analog 2. Maybe these were fills, and this could be a mono summation. I could simply select the speakers. And consistency reset, again, it's orange, letting us know that two speakers have different parameters. That's correct, analog 1 and 2. But we're going to sum them together, so let's just say 1 and 2. And there we go. So very, very quick and easy. And this is the exact same state that we started our demo project at. So the only thing we didn't see earlier was some type of live interaction with the amplifier or any kind of metering or whatnot. So if we just go to the tune tab here and our signal generator, then I can pick the speakers. Okay. And then I'm going to go to operate. That way we can kind of see what's going on here. So again, got pre the DSP and just a signal by itself, pink noise. And I'm going to turn this on. And now I can see I have input level and then I have output, each one. However, this orange light did light up on the amplifier here, kind of that little check engine warning light. So I'm going to go to Load. Oh, and it's telling me right here, open load. So at this point here, I would say we probably don't have a speaker connected, which is correct. Don't want to be blasting the neighbors out right now. But very, very quick and easy to give us a status of what's going on with the system. So we can go and start checking our speaker cables, plug them up, and be good to go. So, Rob, I think we covered everything. Anything that might have missed or anything of interest that you want to mention?
I think you covered everything, Mike. So that was really thorough. I think you covered pretty much everything here.
Okay.
Looks like we got some decent questions in the chat. We'll answer those in just a moment. And I got a couple other things I wanted to cover quick, and then we'll bring Mike back for some Q&A. So I'll just steal the slide here from you, okay, Mike.
Thing.
And if you guys do have any questions, feel free to type those in the chat. We got a couple good ones already, so feel free to just type that into the chat here. We'll hit Q&A here right at the end of the session. All right. Well, anyways, thanks a lot, Mike. Those were some great examples, and I think anybody who was attending the session is going to build a little project offline. It was very thorough. I think you might not even need much training after that little session there. But anyways, SONICUE is, just as a recap, SONICUE provides a new way of configuring, controlling, and operating sound systems driven by LNC series amps, TGX, IPX, or any amplifier equipped with an RCM28. And like Mike had shown and mentioned, it's a complete overview by projection of an entire loudspeaker system. So we're working from a speaker view, unlike some of our traditional platforms that we've used in the past here. So obviously it's a guided workflow with a dedicated, consistent user interaction. So it offers some maximum flexibility, but best results with minimum efforts for all sound tasks. So in the end, we're kind of redefining peace of mind here. So we've got integrated system visibility checks, direct access on the fly, and error prevention with these automated configuration checks as you go through, as Mike had mentioned, a little check engine light, as he likes to call it. But we kind of touched on a couple different things here today, mostly focusing on SONICUE. We talked about some Dynacord electronics. We talked about all of the Electro Voice loudspeakers that are available in the database. But if you guys do have questions or you want to involve an expert, we do have a team of application engineers. Obviously, we have a great sales force here as well. But if you want a recommendation for your next project, we are more than willing to help you out there. And this design service that we offer is absolutely free. So feel free to take advantage of it. We do have a system design questionnaire on the website, so you can fill this out and submit it. It's pretty simple and easy to use, and actually, you don't even have to print anything out here or kill a tree. You just gotta fill this out online. So if you go to the Electro Voice or Dynacord website under tech support, there's a system design questionnaire, and it just asks basic information, contact info, really what the application is, any of the job specifications, drawings, anything like that. That will all be fillable fields within this actual questionnaire. So, and certainly we can help with ease modeling or helping with a bill of materials, or if you just want to bounce an idea off us, we're more than happy to help you out here. So the email that you send that to or send any of these types of inquiries to is buv.design@us.bosch.com. So, we went over SONICUE. Mike did a really great demo here that we all just participated in. And then, of course, I touched on the firmware update here for LNC amplifiers so that they can now coexist in the SONICUE platform as well. So now let's do a little Q&A. So if you guys do have questions, feel free to type them in. We got a couple good ones already, so I'll go ahead and take a look at these, and I'm sure Mike will be able to answer them all. Let's see here. I got a good one here. So, Mike, first one we got is how do I copy EQ from one array to another if I forgot to select both arrays prior to tuning?
Sure. So to copy an EQ from one array or one speaker to another, that specific feature will be enabled in a future release of SONICUE that'll be coming up. For those of you who know IrisNet, you could do it in there, but in the SONICUE platform, that's not enabled just yet, but is coming soon. So right now we're kind of focusing the next SONICUE to have the must-have functionalities and kind of wish list stuff, things that aren't possible with any other software platform. So, but that is in development and should be coming out shortly.
Great. Yeah, and to kind of build on that, we're trying to come up with 2 to 3 updates for SONICUE every year. So trying to make sure we're adding to this loudspeaker database and obviously enhance the user experience here with SONICUE. So, and actually we should have an update here pretty soon in the next couple months. So good question. Got another one here, Mike. Is it possible to adjust the width of the filter in bandwidth instead of Q?
So what we have chosen in the past and for SONICUE is Q. I know some manufacturers have chosen bandwidth only. So either you can kind of do that conversion in your head or a little quick cheat sheet, calculator, Excel, or whatnot. But as far as in SONICUE, no, it's ours is based on Q.
All right. Another question here. When you say signal generator pre-DSP, do you mean before the speaker, specific DSP, or any user-added DSP?
So this would be before the speaker DSP. So whichever DSP preset or whatever you've loaded into the amplifier, it's going to be either before or after that chain of blocks.
All right. So another question here. Can I use SONICUE if I have speakers that are not supported in the speaker database?
Yes, you can. So in the devices for amplifiers, we had listed the Dynacord ones on top and then listed the EV family. And right below that, there's a generic speaker block down there. So once we pick it, it comes a couple different options. It'll say if it's a top or a sub. And then in those, there's different configurations such as full range, 2-way box, 3-way box. And some of them kind of overlap. So the only difference between top and sub really is kind of the object size in the project. But obviously the most important part is picking a 2-way or a 3-way box and such. So once you've done that, you can load, when you go to load the speaker setting, there's a little arrow you can click. And then once you click it, we do have some generic settings already in our library, such as certain specific high passes and low passes, peak voltages for the limiting, and it'll also take any custom SPS file. So if there's a certain speaker that's you've had for ages and it's not in the database, but you already have the SPS files that you've come to know and love very much, you can simply just load those same SPS files into that generic block. If you like to create your own, you most certainly can. You would use our IrisNet platform for that right now. Simply just drag in a TG7 RCM28, key in the speaker parameters that you want for this particular speaker, and then just export that. And then you would just bring that right into SONICUE, into that generic speaker, and let it roll.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. And of course, if you guys ever have any questions on third-party loudspeakers, feel free to reach out to Mike or I. We'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Now, I know we're running a little short on time, so if you guys do think of other questions or want to chat with Mike or myself in further detail, we're certainly here available to answer any questions. So to wrap it up, thanks again for participating with us today. We know that working from home can be a little challenging for some of us, but we're glad that you guys chose to spend the time with us. But feel free to follow us on social media to see what other updates we're doing. We might add some more webinars in the future, past May. But if you have any questions or want to talk with us further, feel free to reach out to us. And I have an email up here, presales.support@us.bosch.com. So feel free to email us, contact us. We're happy to help you. So again, thanks again, everyone, for joining here today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.